Welcome to the Low and Slow podcast.
We're your girls, Crystal and Laken. If you press play today, trust, you made the right decision.
And know whenever you're listening to this, it's exactly the right time.
We invite you to pull up a seat to the conversation, get curious about your current perspective,
and lean in for the opportunity to see yourself in another woman's story.
We created That Girl Magic because we've been where you are.
Here, the talk is real and the breath is steady.
Let's get into your next mindset shift.
Welcome, ladies, to the first episode of the Low and Slow podcast.
We're so excited.
Yes, very excited to be here. So this is our first episode. What are we going to be talking about today, C?
We're going to tell you all how we got started with That Girl Magic. We're going to talk to you about why we even wanted to start the Low and Slow podcast and just a little bit about who we are, right? Like, how did we meet? How did we start a business together? If you guys didn't know, we're best friends. We're all the things. We're roommates, or best friends, or business partners, and how special it is to be able to have someone like that to do life and, create impact and purpose with. So yeah, we're going to chat with you all about it.
Yes. So we're going to give the full background story and all the deets. So let's start as with any story at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how we initially met. So we met through the Enlifted community. Bless you, Mark England. Mm-hmm. And we knew of each other for a period of time, but we hadn't officially met each other for a while.
Yeah, it had been like, we had been in like similar areas, similar circles, right? The same event. We obviously knew the same people, same community, but we hadn't yet connected like that until we were both on a medicine retreat. And the weekend going up there was like, hey, you're in Virginia, I'm in Virginia, let's ride together. And, time in the car, two girls, chatting about life. And then you just were, whoa, this is a person I've been looking for, and vice versa. So we got really close that weekend. And then
yeah, that could have gone really left. I feel like some people would be like, oh, I don't know. I'm about to spend 4 hours in the car with someone that I've never spent any significant time with or had a conversation with. But it was like from the beginning, I think you reached out to me, you sent me a voice note and was like, hey, Melissa mentioned that you were in Northern Virginia, kind of on the way, mm-hmm. and that maybe if we wanted to ride together. And I was like, yeah, say less, pull up.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'll drive the rest of the way.
Yeah, I was in Richmond. You were in Northern Virginia, and it just made sense because we were going up to Jersey, Pennsylvania, one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the basis, right? And it's funny because, we were like, little did we know your best friend is in the next maybe crowd or community or, group of women that you have yet to put yourself out to. So it was really cool just for us to be able to connect, on that retreat, and then just to build so much magic since then. So
yeah. And there's like a saying, right? It's like when people ask, who would you want to go into different situations with, right? And I feel like one of those situations is like, who would you be alone in a car ride with no music for a significant period of time? We literally, I don't think we listened to any music. No. I think we literally talked for 4 hours on the way down, and maybe we listened to some music on the way back for the wind down. Yeah. But still very chatty. And so it was a very easy connection. It was very seamless, and lacking friction. It was simple, which was really, really nice. And then it was also the ideal scenario to be able to go really deep because obviously going there for a medicine retreat and sitting in a small circle of women who we also didn't know, and being able to be in a scenario where we were both very vulnerable and very open and there for self-discovery and learning a lot about ourselves and each other, just kind of created the perfect scenario.
Yeah, perfect scenario to gel. And then to also, if I'm honest, like I don't do surface level. And it was very nice to have met someone where it was like, yeah, this is all of me. And like, this is where I'm at. And this is me, owning my stuff and showing up. And then also just allowing, someone who she's met for the first time to like witness her in that, as well as these other women that we didn't know, which leads us into like, why we started this business, right? Why we started That Girl Magic and ultimately this podcast, because on this podcast, you're going to be able to hear other women's stories, specifically Laken and I's, and then also other women that we've worked with where it's really impactful and special to be able to hear another woman's story, witness them in it, and then also see maybe a previous version of yourself, which is what we've seen as we've started, this business and working with other women in both of our journeys, where we've been able to see a previous version of ourselves in a lot of these women's stories.
Yeah. And so from there, from the retreat, let's fast forward a little bit. Yeah. So it was a couple months. We were still in touch. We still got together as frequently as possible, living 2 hours apart. I would drive to Richmond, or you would come to Northern Virginia for an event. We went to a couple concerts. We, hung out. We had some girls' weekends, and then you were going to El Salvador for your birthday.
Yes. Okay. We fast forward a little bit. Now we're past pray. So let's set the scene. We're at this amazing restaurant called Betos, and we're just talking about like just what each other is, just how quickly we've grown, and then as friends, and then just what we're wanting to ultimately create and what we both have done thus far. And I remember you just being like, okay, well, when you're ready to do that, let me know. And I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready right now. Like, let's do this shit right now. And then from there, yeah, it was like my birthday was in September. I was getting done traveling. So I had left Richmond in May of 24, and then had been like traveling around a bit. And then I decided to move up to Northern Virginia after the Unlifted event, actually. And then that's when we were like, okay, we're going to start That Girl Magic. And we really had been wanting to take this next step in our mindset coaching. And then for us to be able to say like, oh, this is something we're both wanting to do individually. Like, how about let's do it together? And then December, our wow was born, our baby, That Girl Magic. And then from there, it's just been, constant growth. It's really nice because you get to do life and business with your best friend. That's how it feels. Like, it doesn't feel like work when it's purpose-filled work and it's intentional and it's special.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's very much special. And so we kicked things off in December officially. We were probably what took us the longest is coming up with the name. I feel like we brainstormed on that forever, five ever. And then when we came to That Girl Magic, it was like, oh, it just clicked. Like as soon as we heard it, we were
that's
like,
it.
Yes.
I think it came to you in the shower, and then we were on a walk, and you told
Usually
me.
All my good ideas come to me in the shower.
Yeah. I'm like, as she said it, and I was like, damn, that hits. Yes, that's it. Because it is. It's like a little bit behind the name. It's like, you see now like, oh, that girl or her, right? And it's like really being able to embody that we all have that girl magic within us, right? There's magic within all of us. And when you are doing this work on yourself, right, it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this little bit of, it's this little spice. It's this little sauce that ultimately no one else is going to have but you. And when you can own your That Girl Magic, it's like, that's what makes this different, right? When you can own the story that you're telling yourself up here, it shows up on the outside. It's a glow. It's an aura. It's a vibe.
Yeah. I think there's something different about different versions that we want to see ourselves as, right? So, something that's very common is, what's the best version of yourself? But that doesn't always feel good. Sometimes that comes with a lot of criticism, or it comes with some shame associated with it, or it feels like something that might be unattainable. Because what is the fucking best version of yourself, right? It's like, what is it it changes. It's going to be different based on the season that you're in at the time. And when I meet the best version of myself, she's going to be looking back like, no, we're just getting started.
Right. You
You know,
thought
so
you thought that was the best version of yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like that girl is like embodying like who's that girl?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I
Who's
want to be
that
that girl
girl?
regardless of what
Na, na,
season I'm
na,
in.
na, na.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that girl is
Mhm.
timeless.
Yeah. Yeah. All I hear is when Eve in the background, who's that girl?
Yeah.
And that's, it's a question, right? As coaches, we ask really good questions. And it's like, it's exciting on that journey of when you're finding out who's that girl. It's like you're finding it out alongside, you're in for the journey, right? Alongside each other. We're finding out who that girl is. And as it's not an ever done thing, it's not like a done project, like you've arrived, right? That girl can have
Right.
all of these different iterations and versions of herself. And it's beautiful to watch that unfold.
And that girl might not be the best version for a period of time. That girl might have some messy stuff going
Mhm.
on. You know what I mean? Like it's full, like we said, it's fully encompassing, but it meets women in this gap that we see so often, right? In all of our work, this is kind of not kind of take out the kind of this is why we did what we did, right? Because in working with women in mindset coaching, there is this gap of this intrusive self-doubt where women don't have the audacity to see themselves as that
Yeah.
girl, right? They're not willing
Playing
to
small.
recognize who they are and take up space and allow themselves to be fully expressed. They're going to minimize themselves as much as possible to fit into what they think is going to be acceptable. And so getting women to recognize where they can show up in a way that feels really good for them and then recognize those wins and collect that evidence and let it fuel their future decisions. That's kind of the why behind it.
Yeah. And also too, just allowing yourself to be seen in the journey of it, right? Like in all those different versions of yourself, because we want it to be the finished product of like, I've healed or I've gone through this, right? And I'm good now. And it's like allow yourself to really be seen in, if it is the mess, if it is the hard time, if it is the change, the glow up, all of it, it's just you're owning that girl magic. That's the embodiment of it. So the names are really special to us. If you haven't noticed that, right? That girl magic. And now having that girl magic, we're coming up on a year this December. By the time you guys listen to this, we will have dropped in November, which is very exciting. And let's talk to them about why we named it the Low and Slow podcast.
Yes. The Low and Slow podcast, inspired by the way that we met through the Enlifted community, and something that we practice within Enlifted and in our story work is low and slow breathing, because breath that is caught in the chest keeps our thoughts racing, keeps our nervous system upregulated, and it doesn't allow us to access that girl magic. And so being able to keep the breath low and slow is a tool that anybody can use. It can be applied anywhere, and it allows us to access what we need to stay in a state where we can get that magic that we're looking for, that access that self-trust, right? To be able to create action, to make decisions, to go towards the things that we want, to chase our dreams, to do all the things. And it really starts with the breath.
Yeah. Yeah. It's being able to, in the heat of any moment, just, which all of us honestly don't do enough, right? And it's like until we bring our attention to it, where the reason why we named it that is because on this podcast, we're going to be having some real raw conversations. And the breath is something that individually, yes, as coaches, as we're guiding other women through this method, we keep our breath low and slow. But then as we're hearing another woman's story, if we're maybe triggered by something, that's how we regulate ourselves, right? I think as women, we're not always taught what self-regulation looks like. And again, this is something that you can do within yourself. People say, do breath work, journal, all the things to practice, right? But it's like, it's the stuff that's free, the walking, the getting sunshine, going to, getting good sleep, breathing, that is like, oh yeah, I could do that. I'm actually the one that does that.
And can we simplify it and make it practical, right? Because it's not always realistic to stop what you're doing and do, even just 5 minutes of breath work technically, right? But you can always just start to breathe low and slow and track your breathing, right? And just that reminder of like, okay, well, how am I breathing right now? And then what am I thinking is the next
Yeah.
thing to go to,
Yeah.
right? And so there's a couple areas that fall within like our philosophy of the way that we coach and the way that we work with our clients, and a lot of that is in the breath and the nervous system and language shifts and how that affects physiology, sustainable changes, meeting our clients where they are and allowing them to progress from there, and targeting a lot of the things that women struggle with the most, right? Which is like self-worth, communication and relationships, boundaries, self-prioritization.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one, right? And ultimately, like, what are you telling yourself about yourself, right? That plays a huge role,
Yeah.
the self-talk, because that shows up in all of those areas, in the relationships, and something happening at work, different dynamics, even just like with your kids, right? Or just even with, like, what's the entry point here of where we've both came from with a lot of women on their health journey, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that inner voice sound like? That inner critic? Are you a mean girl in your head, right?
Yeah, I guarantee you are.
Because
Everybody's been a mean girl to themselves at some
yeah,
point.
it's like it's taking a chance to address what the internal is looking like, because ultimately it's a reflection. Like, we're all mirrors to each other, right? And something externally is showing up. So what's going on internally? Can we take a look at that?
Yeah, and also just gain language around what it is that you're feeling,
Yeah.
right? So many women that we work with can't even really
Hmm.
identify what it is that they're feeling or what emotions are attached to their different lived experiences or their different stories, because that's not something that they've ever done before.
Right. Right. And also learning how, like you said, a lot. I mean, before getting into all of this work, it's like we've said this a lot to each other. Like, I didn't have the language for it then.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we've been able to separate what my mind is saying and ultimately what I'm feeling, right? And separate like who's the one driving here, right? And can I listen to these things individually and not easily create what that means about me, right? So if I'm feeling a certain way, any kind of emotion, or maybe I'm numb and I'm not feeling any emotion, right? Because that's been the thing that's kept you safe. It's like being able to not own that as your identity. Because a lot of times we think
Yeah.
with what we're feeling or maybe something that we're thinking that means something about us.
Yeah. And so if you're not familiar with us in a way that you haven't worked with us before, right? A lot of people may wonder, well, what is mindset coaching, right? Because it is a very generalized term that people use in multiple ways. So for us, the way that we work, the modality that we use most frequently is going to be story work, right? And so we essentially take lived experiences from a woman's story, the story that she tells herself, right? And the way that I describe it is the way that we see ourselves is through a lens that's crafted by our lived experiences or these stories that we hold attachment to. And more often than not, those stories are negative ones because humans are safety seeking animals. That's what we do. It's very important that we do that. And those stories are supposed to serve as warnings or hopefully information that's supposed to keep us safe moving forward. But what tends to happen is because there's a negative tone to them, it usually holds us back instead. And it can put us in the victim seat or in a disempowered position in the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. And so what we do in story work is we go in and slow down the stories. We do that by writing them down, incorporating them with the breath. We have a multi-sensory experience with them, meaning you are going to have a different experience seeing that story on the page, reading it out loud, hearing yourself say it, being witnessed in it, slowing it down for yourself, adding in some somatics with breath. And then we're going to be able to gain a different perspective by doing that. And then you get to choose how you see yourself in it. and we can shift it to a more empowering position, either by playing with the language that you use or by adjusting some of, even just one word, right? We've seen that before.
Yeah. It's funny because when people, I ask at the, anytime when they're getting on a call, like, what's your definition of mindset? And a lot of times with these stories that women are going into with us, they've talked about it. Maybe they've journaled about it. Maybe they've gone to therapy about it, but they've never written it down. And maybe they've never written it down, and they haven't had that third party perspective, which is like what you're talking about, right? Being able to shift from participating in it, which is that victim mentality or that perspective, and then shifting into observing it. Why do I feel this way? When was the first time I felt this way? What am I making this mean about me? Right. And a lot of times it's until that we can have that space and distance from it, from what we're saying to ourselves, and then also have someone witness us having that change in perspective, that change in lens. That's where we can then, get some space and clarity on it.
Yeah. And often there's some resistance.
There is.
Right? Like, people don't want to write this shit down. It's not fun. And I find there's even more resistance to the breathing, right? So why is the breathing so important?
Are you asking me or are you?
Yeah.
The breath. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you were just saying as a general question. Yeah. The breath is so important because a lot of times when we're telling these stories, that is the thing, we ask you where are you feeling this? A lot of times we're feeling it in our chest, right? It's this weight, or maybe it's on our shoulders, right? The breath is us being, Mark's going to love this, puckered, right? We're just tense as hell. And getting the breath in there really allows us to just unlock and just release, and allows us to get that honesty in there, right? The breath, it's constriction, right? It's the hold essentially that it has on you. And so when we unlock that breath, it really allows us to just be honest, right? And have the real, I don't want to say like the real truth, but have what you're really saying or feeling come out in a way, rather than being on defense mode, or rather than, sugarcoating things, or kind of like pussyfooting around it, right? We will have some women write down a lot of things, and then there's a story within that story. What's the real thing that you're telling yourself here? So the breath really helps to just unlock that, and also incorporate the body to where you are creating safety within yourself, to digest the very own words that you're saying, right? Your story. The breath is is super important. And it feels funny at first, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't breathe like this before getting into all this work. And I mean, we'll get into like really more of who we both are, but like, most Northerners, we talk super fast. And it's like, dang, can we slow down just a little bit? Like, take a breath and just see, like, did you even realize that you just said that? Right. And a lot of times we don't until we give ourselves the opportunity to slow down and actually pay attention to what we're saying.
Yeah. And physically, it's important too, as far as what you're able to access in the body and what physical reactions are attached to the emotions that are probably repressed when it comes to those stories, right? So it's like, think about anytime you've had an experience where you were really upregulated, maybe, and go back to like when you were a child, and so you didn't have cultural norms that were telling you can't cry, or there was a lot of shame around expressing emotion. Before you had any of that, right? If you had an experience that made you really upset, or that you were really, really over the top upregulated over, let's say you're, hysterically crying, what is the natural response? Eventually you're going to, right? Like, you're gonna start to, your body will force you to do that physiological sigh, or that, and then I have to start to slow down, right? And the slowing down of the breathing is what allows us to come out of those fits. That's natural. That is what's supposed to happen. We repress that as we get older because we have all these negative connotations around it, right? But that is really what is the key to unlocking that
Yeah.
mess that's
Yeah.
happening and when stuff's going in your head like a million miles a minute.
Yeah. Unlocking the breath is moving that stuck emotion, maybe the stuck emotion that you have been repressing or ignoring or avoiding, or, you know, you can see it all over someone's face, right? They get that.
Yeah.
It does look just like that,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's this trying to hold back, right? I mean, how many times have you, when you've been talking or you're trying to hold back tears, right? Your face it says it, shows it. And so getting the breath in there just allows you to move what is essentially stuck and then give you the opportunity to actually feel the thing. And you may, you know, as you go through this method with us, you see that the breath really allows the shift in emotion to happen. So you may come in feeling angry as hell, right? And then by the end of that, just have so much more relief or clarity or calmness or peace, or just even like just like a relief, overall relief.
Yeah. Yeah. What can people expect from us on the Low and Slow podcast moving forward?
Well, today is we're giving you a little taste, right? What people can expect the next couple episodes. You're going to just learn more about who we are individually. We are both very different, and that's why we work. And ultimately, how we coach, who we are, the space that we create here for you. You know, as you listen, you will start to see what that looks like. You'll be able to feel it, right? We're creating a space where you can show up exactly how you are, and really be able to hear yourself in another woman's, or see yourself in another woman's story. We really want to create an environment that feels safe and that feels grounding and that feels like we are creating the conversation that maybe you don't have in your current reality, right? Where we want to, what you can expect is that we're your homegirls here, right? And we're going to talk about some real stuff with you. And, you know, that you're supported here, and that every time that you listen, you can walk away with something that maybe you didn't think of before, or maybe you didn't realize that was possible, to have that perspective on, and really be able to take what lands, leave what doesn't. And then maybe this is your opportunity to take these kinds of conversations and start them within your own communities. Right. I know, specifically why we gelled together so much is because we were able to meet each other in our depth and to have those kind of real, honest conversations that maybe we didn't have that type of relationship outside of there to have. So what you can expect is that the conversations will be deep, and you're held and you're supported here, and there's a safe space for you within each episode.
Yeah. And we will be addressing many of the things that, based on our sample size, most women struggle with very frequently, right? And also equip you with really good questions to ask yourself as you're going through similar experiences. And that's the idea, is being able to stay curious with yourself through those struggles and through your journey. So that's what you can expect from us moving forward. Like C said, we are going to be getting a little deeper dive into each of our individual stories in the next couple episodes. And then we'll be getting into some meatier stuff as far as, you know, struggles that women face. And we're looking forward to it. We're excited, and we're so glad that you guys are here to join us on the journey. It means the world to us.
Yeah, for sure. And in the future, right, as we are creating this conversation, you know, we're going to be inviting women on. We're going to be inviting guests, right? We're going to be having that girl talk, right? That real, honest, raw conversation. And we're happy that you can be a part of it.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Please make sure you are following along, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Please follow us online at thatgirlmagic.co. Please hit that subscribe button here on the podcast. Please share it with all your friends.
Yeah, we're available on all where you can listen: Spotify, Apple, all the platforms, YouTube. And if you're not following us, please, on Instagram, hit that follow button there too. There's a ton of value there, and we want you along for the journey with us.
See you next time.
Bye.